This is the JTV Caribbean News. I'm Sean Rose. Bahamas Minister of Agriculture Alfred Gray says he wants public hangings in the Bahamas. He said he supports capital punishment for convicted murderers as a way to stop crime, and said the government should abandon the Privy Council as the highest court of appeal to ensure that violent criminals are punished with death. Death row convicts who lose their appeals at the Court of Appeal can appeal to the Privy Council and the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. Gray's comments came a day after Bahamas acting Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis was robbed at gunpoint at his West Ridge home. Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson said officials are looking at ways to increase security at Parliament and the courts. The robbery at Davis's home raised fears in the Bahamas and among some politicians. High-level consultations are taking place in the Caribbean to develop targeted strategic interventions that would help reduce by 50% within 5 years the number of adolescents in the Caribbean who give birth before their 20th birthday. Figures released by the United Nations Population Fund show that an estimated 20% of adolescents in the Caribbean have had at least one child by the age of 19, with a considerable percentage of adolescent girls giving birth before the age of 15. The adolescent birth rate per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19 in the Caribbean varies among the countries, ranging from 26 in the Turks and Caicos to 97 in Guyana. In Jamaica, 45% of all women who are between age 15 to 24 have been pregnant by 19 years of age, and 41% have given birth. Similar statistics are recorded in several Organization of Eastern Caribbean States countries, Guyana and Suriname. Meetings were held in various Caribbean countries to raise the political commitment towards the issue and support by civil society to drastically reducing teenage pregnancy across the region in 5 years. Public health was one of the key issues identified by the Caribbean Community CARICOM Reparations Commission to receive reparatory diplomacy and action. This disclosure was made by Chairman of the Reparations Commission, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, at a press conference on Tuesday following a meeting of the representatives from the Commission on Monday at the UWI Mona campus in Jamaica. According to Beckles, the African-descended population in the Caribbean today has the highest incidence in the world of chronic diseases such as hypertension and type 2 diabetes. Education was the second of the 6 issues identified. The Commission chairman stated that at the end of the colonial period, the British left the African-descended population in a state of general illiteracy that continued to plague Caribbean societies and accounted for significant parts of their development challenges. Speaking to cultural institutions, Beckles said there was no development of institutions such as museums and research centers to prepare Caribbean citizens for an understanding of their history. He also spoke of cultural deprivation, outlining that the primary cultural effect of slavery was to break and eradicate African commitment to their culture. South Africa's first black president, Nelson Mandela, the man who led South Africa's transition from white minority rule in the 1990s after 27 years in prison, died on Thursday, December 5th at the age of 95. His death sparked reaction from leaders all over the world, including the Caribbean. St. Lucia remembers his visit to the region in 1998 to attend a CARICOM meeting. Here's more in this report.
The world took a collective pause on Thursday when news broke that former South African President Nelson Mandela had passed away. The iconic freedom fighter and legendary peacemaker had been ailing for some time. While the world anticipated his passing due to his failing health, it made the news none the easier. Reaction has been coming in from the world over and indeed the Caribbean and St. Lucia. Nelson Mandela visited St. Lucia in 1998. He was president at the time and had accepted an invitation from the chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. Keith Mitchell, to attend the 19th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM hosted in St. Lucia.
St. Lucia is one of the most beautiful places I visited. Its beauty is breathtaking. I know that one day I will die for a very, very long time. But visiting St. Lucia seems to guarantee to me that it will take some time before death prevails over me.
A youth rally was hosted at the Derek Walcott Square in Mandela's honor. In his larger-than-life but humble way, the foremost icon of the 20th century laughed and danced and embraced the many young people gathered at the Derek Walcott Square. He inspired them to use education as their tool to emerge as leaders.
We often say that the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. Some of you are going to be members of parliament in your country. You are going to be ambassadors representing your country in foreign countries. You are going to be members of the United Nations, of the Commonwealth, of the non-aligned movement, of CARICOM. But if you are going to play that role today, you need a special equipment so that you can serve your country. Education.
Mandela was famously quoted as saying, "Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity, it is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls on a generation to be great. You can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom." Unquote. Here in St. Lucia, he also spoke to the youth about rising above poverty.
Poverty does not start today. It has always been there. Don't allow poverty to keep away from equipping yourself for the purpose of improving your capacity to serve your country.
Mandela was revered the world over. His death solicited strong reaction from many generations around the world. Many took to social media to pay tribute to the former South African president who led his country out of the grips of apartheid and spearheaded the reconciliation process which unified his country. Lovely St. Amy Joseph, HTS News Force.
St. Lucia has been warned of the possibility of a dengue epidemic after health authorities said they have investigated more than 200 suspected cases. They said so far 220 suspected dengue cases have been reported to the Trinidad-based Caribbean Public Health Agency, with 7 confirmed and 1 death so far this year. But the Ministry of Health said that increased surveillance has reflected a decrease in the number of cases over the past 2 weeks. Epidemiologist Nahum John-Baptiste said they have found that in the most populated regions in the northern part of St. Lucia has the most potential for the spread of dengue. John-Baptiste said that dengue may be spreading its tentacles beyond the rainy season. The Aedes aegypti mosquito, which breeds in containers mainly found in and around homes, with a life cycle averaging 7 days, is largely responsible for the spread of dengue. For the JTV Caribbean News, I am Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News, Senior International students talk about their business idea to help reduce the voracious lionfish in BVI waters. CCT launches 12 Days of Christmas as the company begins testing its 4G service. And Sean Rose finds new and upcoming businesses at this year's Christmas on Main Street.